He's not the starter. If Deshaun Watson is named the starter, it tells you all you need to know about what Todd Monken thinks about Shedeur Sanders. He doesn't think he's good enough. Because why? Like, you'd have to be so desperate to play Deshaun Watson. He hasn't been good in 6 years. So,
I mean, if Deshaun is out there balling, I mean, he balling. I mean, I think that if from an outside standpoint, we look at it like, we seen Deshaun Watson, and he looked terrible out there. Well, my question is Deshaun Watson completely shy?
If Deshaun Watson is named the starter, it tells you all you need to know about what Todd Monken thinks about Shedeur Sanders. He doesn't think he's good enough. Because why would you be so desperate to play Deshaun Watson? He hasn't been good in 6 years. That right there is the question tearing Browns fans apart right now. And today, we are getting into all of it.
Do you believe Shedeur Sanders can be a top 20 quarterback in 2026 with all the new additions to the offensive line and the receiving room the Browns have made via free agency and the 2026 NFL draft?
I think the question should be, is he likely to be a top 20? I mean, of course there's a chance. There's a chance anybody could be.
Okay.
But do you think it's likely he'll be a top 20 quarterback?
I think that the Browns have done an unbelievable job, boosting up this roster. I think.
Welcome back. If you follow Cleveland Browns football, you already know this debate has been heating up since the moment the 2026 NFL draft wrapped. The Browns made massive moves, over $100 million spent on the offensive line, new weapons at receiver, a new head coach, a new offensive coordinator. Everything points to a reset. But the one question nobody can fully answer yet is the most important one of all. Can Shedeur Sanders actually become a legitimate top 20 quarterback in this league? We sat down with Tyvis Powell, a guy who has actually been in those locker rooms, been on those fields, and knows this organization from the inside, and he gave us the most honest, unfiltered take on Shedeur's ceiling, Deshaun Watson's last chance, and what these next few weeks of OTAs are really going to tell us. Let's get into it. Back in February, we asked Tyvis a simple question on the panel. If Shedeur Sanders is a top 20 quarterback next year, does this Cleveland team have a real shot at competing? And Tyvis, being Tyvis, refused to answer. He said he wouldn't touch that question until after the draft. Well, the draft has passed, the roster has been built, and it is time to collect. So Tyvis, now that the Browns have spent big on the offensive line, added weapons at receiver, and come out of the draft with new pieces, do you believe Shedeur Sanders can be a top 20 quarterback in 2026? Tyvis didn't dodge it this time.
George Warhop can get those guys to play to their full potential. I think absolutely. I think, if Casey Concepcion is able to catch the ball, Denzel Boston becomes a good red zone threat and can catch some of the 50-50 balls, absolutely. The thing with Shedeur Sanders is something that I pointed out yesterday. Shedeur Sanders is one of those guys that skips the layups to take the go for the great. And there's nothing wrong with that. You got to make sure that person that you're going for great with, that receiver, also has greatness inside of him as well. And I think he felt victim.
I think the Browns have done an unbelievable job boosting up this roster. Zach mentioned they spent about $100 million on the offensive line alone. And if those guys play to their potential, and I say if, because there's real boom or bust with a couple of players on that line, but if George Warhop can get Tytus Howard and Zion Johnson playing at their ceiling, then absolutely. If Casey Concepcion can catch the ball consistently, if Denzel Boston becomes a real red zone threat and wins those 50-50 balls, then yes, absolutely. Shedeur could be a top 20 quarterback in this league. But then he said something that gets to the heart of who Shedeur Sanders actually is as a player. Shedeur Sanders is one of those guys who skips the layups to go for the great play. And there's nothing wrong with that, as long as the person you're targeting also has greatness inside of them. That is a perfect way to put it. Shedeur trusts his receivers, maybe a little too much, and last year that trust wasn't always rewarded. The talent around him simply did not materialize the way he expected. He needed Jerry Jeudy to turn it around. He needed Denzel Boston to adjust to the NFL game faster. He needed guys like Casey Concepcion and Isaiah Bond to step up, and it just didn't happen consistently enough.
Those two things.
I think that first of all, it's a new playbook, so you gotta get that going. And I think that, for all the media guys that will be out there, you've been doing this. No.
Yes.
The true media guys that will be out there assessing practice. You have to understand that the defense always dominates early on. When you got a new offense and you're installing a new offense, it always starts off slow. So the defense is going to look dominant because.
So the turnovers came, the head-scratching throws came, and instead of layups, there were moments where you were watching and thinking, what are you doing right now? Tyvis put it plainly. If he cuts down those what the heck are you doing throws and actually takes the layup when the layup is right there, yes, he could absolutely be a top 20 quarterback, but it's still an if. And that if is a big one, because we do not even know yet if he will be the starter. Here is where it gets really interesting. OTAs are starting in a couple of weeks, and for Shedeur, this stretch of time matters more than most people realize. Tyvis broke it down the way only someone who has lived it can. First of all, it's a new playbook, and when you've got a new offense being installed, it always starts off slow. The defense always dominates early. Offense is about timing and chemistry, and that stuff takes time to develop. You've got guys who didn't even come to voluntary minicamp, so it's not going to look pretty right away, and I'm not going to judge it off the first couple of days. So if you were a media guy watching those early practices and declaring the offense is broken, pump the brakes. That is completely normal. Give it about a week before the timing starts to click. But for Shedeur specifically, there's a very clear message he has to send to Todd Monken during this period.
He has to be able to get that playbook down, be able to take the layups. You got to show the coach that I will take the layups if I need to necessarily. I know that's what you want me to do. If it's 3rd and 5 and we need 4, I'm going to take the 5 to see another down. That's what you have to do. And then every now and again, the fans and the team want to be able to make defenses defend the entire field. And I think for so long it's been, let's pack the box to stop Nick Chubb.
He has to show the coach that he will take the layups when he needs to. If it's 3rd and 5 and you need 4 yards, you take the 5. You move the chains. You see another down. That is what you have to do. And then, and this is the part Browns fans actually care about, Shedeur also has to remind this team's defense that they cannot just sit back and dare Cleveland to throw downfield, because for too long, defenses have done exactly that. Last year, it was pack the box to stop the run and flat foot at 10 yards because nobody's throwing it past 10. That's literally why Isaiah Bond was wide open on that deep ball against the Raiders. Nobody believed Cleveland was going to throw deep, so nobody defended it, and boom. Explosive play. The Browns need to force defenses to defend the whole field again, and Shedeur Sanders, if he is the guy, is the one who has to make that happen. Now here is where things get uncomfortable, because as much as Browns fans want this to be the Shedeur show, there is still a very real Deshaun Watson conversation happening inside that building. If Watson wins the starting job, what does that tell us about Shedeur? Tyvis was honest about it. If Deshaun Watson is named the starter, that means Shedeur needs to figure out what he's lacking. Todd Monken is going to be very transparent. The message will be loud and clear about what needs to improve. For Watson, it is simply about going out there and winning games. That is ultimately what Monken wants. He's going to play the quarterback he thinks gives the team the best chance to win. Period. And Monken has skin in the game too. He's a new head coach. There is no guarantee he is back next year if this goes sideways. The owner already came out and said he believed this team was better than a 5-win team. So you better be pushing for more than 5 wins, or people are going to start looking at you sideways. But here's the thing that the host pushed back on, and it is a fair push. I don't buy that Shedeur can't beat out Deshaun Watson. Watson has not been good in 6 years. He's had 3 good games in exchange for $185 million. If Shedeur can't beat out that guy in a clean competition, that is a real alarm bell. And Tyvis acknowledged it. If Watson is named the starter, then yeah, in my mind, that tells me they were right. Shedeur still needed development time. He needed last year, and now he needs this year to figure out what the next level requires of him. Can he play in the NFL? He has shown you, yes, but can he do it consistently for 4 quarters? That is what we have not seen yet. Now, Tyvis did offer one thing that is actually worth thinking about, even if it feels uncomfortable. He raised the question of whether the Kevin Stefanski offense was simply a bad fit for Deshaun Watson. Deshaun never seemed like a fan of the Stefanski system to begin with. Is Todd Monken's offense a better fit? Does it suit Watson better? Because if it does, you might see a version of Watson that looks nothing like what we saw in Cleveland the last few years. And look, that does happen. Quarterbacks change systems and take off. It is not unheard of. But the counter is hard to ignore. Watson played with Amari Cooper. He had talent around him. And Baker Mayfield, who nobody is calling an elite quarterback, had genuine success with Kevin Stefanski running the same offense. So this idea that the system alone destroyed Deshaun Watson does not fully hold up. The track record says it is probably not going to be great, and if things are even remotely close between the two, why would you choose the guy who already sunk the ship over the one who at least has a chance? Tyvis summed it up in the most real way possible. Deshaun's only chance to play football past this season is to win this job and play well. That is it. If I know that, I am breathing, eating, and sleeping football every single day. I am going at it like nothing else matters. Because if he does not win this job, who's to say we ever see Deshaun Watson play in the NFL again?
But step all the way back for a second, because Tyvis made a point that is bigger than just quarterback competition. If Shedeur Sanders can become the franchise quarterback, if he is genuinely the guy, that changes everything about how this organization operates going forward. If Shedeur becomes the franchise guy, that is one thing you do not have to worry about anymore. You can spend money in other areas. You don't have to use high draft capital on the quarterback position again. That is why I am Team Shedeur. Not because I am blindly loyal to him, but because the math makes sense if he can do it. And now, for the first time, the pieces are around him to actually find out the truth. New offensive line, real investment at receiver, a healthy running back, a new offensive system designed for the modern NFL, a head coach who is transparent and demanding. There are no more excuses on the table. Now we can truly evaluate these players. If he cannot do it consistently with all of this around him, then that tells you the story right there. But I genuinely believe there is greatness inside Shedeur Sanders. He gave you glimpses last year that I have not seen from many Browns quarterbacks. Moments where you think, man, this kid might be something real. Now we need to see it for 4 quarters, not just in flashes. So where does this all land? The Browns have built the most complete roster around their quarterback position in years. The offensive line investment is real. The receiving room has actual depth and upside. The coaching staff has credibility. Every condition that Shedeur Sanders needed to succeed has now been put in place. Now it is on him. OTAs start in 2 weeks. The reps are coming. The tape will roll. And as Tyvis said, the football will tell you the truth, whether you are ready to hear it or not. One quarterback is going to start grabbing the team's attention. The guys in that locker room are going to gravitate toward whoever is clearly better. And that natural pull is going to make the starting decision for Todd Monken before he ever officially announces anything. Shedeur Sanders has every reason to be a top 20 quarterback in 2026. He has the arm, he has the confidence, he has the swagger to make defenses respect the whole field. He just has to show up, take the layups, protect the football, and let his talent do what it was always capable of doing. The stage is set. The question is whether he steps onto it. If you want to see what actually happens when OTAs kick off and we get our first real look at this quarterback competition, make sure you are subscribed because we are going to be covering every single development as it comes. Drop your prediction in the comments right now. Shedeur starter week 1 or does Watson pull the upset? Let us know where you stand. We will see you in the next one.